Okay, simple halachot of what a person is obligated to eat in the sukkah and what a person is allowed to eat outside the sukkah. In the sukkah, Sfaradim are obligated to eat bread if it's more than kabeitza. How much is kabeitza? Kabeitza, remember, the klal, the rule by kabeitza is twice kazait. Remember, kazait, twice kazait is kabeitza, 3 times kazait is revi'it. So those are measurements that are easy to remember. If you remember it, that it's just multiply like that. How much is kazait? 28 grams. Kabeitza would be how much? Around 56 grams. So if you want to know how to measure, you take a shot cup, the 1 ounce, and that's the 1 ounce is kazait. So how much is kabeitza? 2 of those. So if you're eating mezonot or bread for the same price, mezonot or bread, you must eat them in the sukkah if it's more than kabeitza. Up to kabeitza, you're not obligated to eat them in the sukkah. More than kabeitza, you're obligated to eat them in the sukkah. Just there's a difference for Sfaradim that on bread you'll say the bracha of lishev b'sukkah, and on mezonot you don't. Sfaradim only say lishev b'sukkah on bread. When do you say the bracha lishev b'sukkah? There's a machloket if you should say it before hamotzi or after hamotzi. Lemaseh, the halacha, according to majority of poskim and the minhag, is to say lishev b'sukkah before hamotzi. You say lishev b'sukkah, hamotzi, and then you eat. Since there's a machloket Rambam and the Rosh, how the bracha should be said, according to the Rambam, a person stands up, says lishev b'sukkah, and then he sits down. And according to the Rosh, he sits down and he says lishev b'sukkah. Shulchan Aruch was posek like the Rambam, the Rema was posek like the Rosh. According to the Rambam, we said the person stands, says lishev b'sukkah, and then he sits. Does that mean that according to the Rambam, the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah is actually literally sitting on a chair? Or does it mean just it's the beginning of performing the mitzvah of staying in a sukkah? That's a machloket in the poskim, the Taz and the Bach. But definitely, the way the Mishnah Berurah says, it's not that it's sitting, but rather that's the beginning of the mitzvah. That's how you start performing the mitzvah, by sitting and dwelling in the sukkah. By the way, it's a machloket in the definition. What does it mean, lishev b'sukkah? Sitting. Sitting means to actually sit, literally sit, or just spend time in a sukkah. Just like it says in the pasuk that when Am Yisrael conquered the place, ukvashtem ota v'shavtem ba, which means, what's the mean v'shavtem ba? Not to actually sit in the land, but rather to dwell in the land, to be there. And that is the machloket the same way by the sukkah as well. So therefore, you'll say lishev b'sukkah on bread, but not only on bread. We said for Sfaradim only on bread. Ashkenazim say on mezonot as well, but not only on bread, because if a person is kovea seuda on mezonot, which means if you take a nice amount of cake and it's considered kviut seuda, how much is kviut seuda? Is machloket according to Sfaradim minhag whether it is 6 beitzim or 8 beitzim. You already know how much is a beitza. So therefore, whether it's 180 or 230, that's at least the way the Ben Ish Chai explains. Chacham Ovadia has a little bit different, 213, whatever it is. But if you're eating that amount, already it's considered kviut seuda, even though you're eating mezonot, only mezonot. You're eating a cake, you took Danish, and you eat a nice amount of it, that you can put the volume of that. We measure by volume, not by weight. Volume of that you can push into that an amount of 8 beitzim. Therefore, on such a thing, it's also considered kviut seuda, and you would say the bracha of lishev b'sukkah. Ben Ish Chai is not so clear, but Chacham Ovadia brings down that not from the Sefer Ben Ish Chai, as other Sfarim as well, he brings down also that a person could say lishev b'sukkah on mezonot. But not every mezonot is so simple, because what happens if you eat, for instance, cereal, hot cereal, you eat something like pasta, something that doesn't have tzurat apat, it doesn't have the shape of bread. Bread has a certain shape. So things that are related to bread, like cakes, cookies, those has tzurat apat. So in halacha, it's considered mezonot only because they're sweet or other reasons. So on those things, you ate enough of them to be koveh suda, you say the bracha lishev basukah. What about other things that don't have a shape of a bread? Like we're saying, hot cereal, for instance. Definitely doesn't have a shape of a bread. And therefore, if you eat enough of that, would you say the bracha lishev basukah? Ben Shchai says no. Because you need to have, just like Bilchot Brachot, you need to have Kviyut Suda, actual Kviyut Suda. Chacham Ovadia, on the other hand, argues, and it seems like from the Mishnah Berurah as well, it seems like as long as it's mezonot, it's considered Kviyut Suda, and a person is allowed to eat. And if a person eats enough of it to be Koveh Suda, he says the bracha of Lishev Basukah. What about if you want to eat something else? Since you're in a sukkah and you're eating such an amount of such things, we said you say the bracha lishev sukkah according to Chacham Ovadia. What would be the din and the halacha if you're eating meat, you're eating chicken, you're eating those things? Those are, the Mishnah Berurah says, those are compared to fruits. If you eat fruits, as much as you eat, you can eat a whole container of fruits, you're not going to say the bracha lishev sukkah. And therefore, meat is not compared to any grain, that any food that any dish that's made from grain, because grain is mezin, is something that fills you up. Meat that doesn't go into that category, even though it could be filling you up, and therefore you would never say the bracha of lishev basukah on that, and you don't need to eat in the sukkah at all, even though the Mishnah Berurah brings down the tzam achronim machmir to eat meat. If you're eating bekviyut, you mamash making a meal out of it, to eat it in the sukkah. There are those that are machmir, but even the Ashkenazim are not required to be machmir. It's a chumrah. Sfaradim also don't have such a chumrah. What about rice? You want to eat sushi. You brought a whole sushi and you want to eat it now. There's enough amount of it, more than kabetza. You say mezonot on rice. Would you eat the rice in the sukkah or would you eat it outside the sukkah? Chacham Ovadia brings down, the Or Letzion brings down, many poskim bring down that rice you don't have to eat in the sukkah. Although it's mezonot. Why is it mezonot? You say mezonot on rice, and then you say nefashot on rice. It's like a contradiction. You have to decide, where are you? You're here, or you're there? Nishta here, nishta here, they say in Yiddish. The answer is that mezonot is something that fills you up. Mezin fills you up. Rice fills you up. But only on something that chameshet minei dagan, that one of the 5 grades, they said that they were metaken. Chachamim established that one should say the bracha of al hamichya, and this is the rice is not part of it, and therefore eating rice outside the sukkah is permitted. Although we said all those things are permitted, also wine, by the way. Sfaradim are not makpid even if you drink wine bekviyut. You sit down and you have a whole your whole party with wines with your friends. You have different types of wine. Sfaradim are not machmir on that. But Ashkenazim, some are machmir to drink if you drink in bekviyut inside the sukkah. Although we said all those things that we're not machmir, but the Gemara itself brings down that a person that's machmir to go into the sukkah and even drink water in the sukkah, do everything he can in the sukkah, it's obviously a hidur, a chumrah that has place. It doesn't fall into a category that we spoke before about kol ha-machmir bedavar asher patur mimenu harei ze idiot. On the contrary, that's a good chumrah because a person should feel that the sukkah is his real dwelling place throughout Chag HaSukkot. It's the shvuka and taduru. A person needs to be there just like he's in his own house, just like in his own living room. He would eat and drink and do all those things that we said that you are patur from doing them in the sukkah. But as a chumrah, definitely one should behave and treat the sukkah and Sukot the same way and do all those things in the sukkah.